And there's no aspect, no facet, no moment of life that can't be improved with pizza. Thank you.
I'm back and I'm better. Back and I'm better. So I was asked to recreate this look. Or should I say this look? Yeah, this look. It's something I posted on Instagram last week. And so I figured, why not? Anyway, I'm going to start by priming my eyeballs. And today I'm using my MAC Soft Ochre paint pot. I hit pan. Anyway, so I'm going to sweep that across like so. I like using a brush to apply it and blending it in with my finger, only because I just don't want to dip my finger in the pot, even though it's a personal pot, because I got these nails on and also germs. So the first eyeshadow that I'm going to use from this palette is this one right here. It's called ILYSB. Have no idea what that stands for, never looked it up, in my crease. So I'm going to tap it on. Okay. When you're doing this, you want to be careful so as not to create any harsh lines for yourself, because a lot of the time when you go in heavy like this, it winds up settling into your concealer or your primer, and you wind up with a noticeable harsh line. And by noticeable, I mean noticeable to you. Most people won't see it, honestly. Okay, so blending with a new blending brush is always so much fun. Okay, so just gonna blend that all the way out. Okay, so I have two palettes from JUNO & Co. And when I was reading my caption to remember which palette I used, I assumed it was the Summer Nights palette, but it was actually the Hollywood palette. So what I'm gonna do is do the same thing on this eye and then proceed to using the Hollywood palette. Okay, so using the palette that I started with, I'm going to use the shade Chinese Laundry, just because I want to see if it's going to make a difference on my crease. This shade is definitely a lot more orange than the one that I started with. So I'm just going to sweep it all over the place in hopes that it'll at least tint the initial transition shade. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Now mind you, I honestly feel like this eyeshadow look is going to be a lot bolder than it was when I posted it on Instagram, but the technique that I'm using is all the same. So yeah. Enough blending! Next I'm going to use the shade Hollywood Forever. It's the black, mostly because the brown wasn't hitting for me. Now this black is not the darkest black I've ever used by any means, but it is dark enough to give me some depth without overpowering the transition shade. So I'm putting that exactly where I put the brown. I think this is how I use the palette too. I was literally just discovering the shades, you know, when you're using a new palette and you're hopeful, you don't really know if things are gonna work out, but you give it a try anyway. That's what this was. So I am blending the outer third and into the crease. Not all the way, just right up in here. And I'm being very light-handed so as to make sure that everything comes together very seamlessly. Tap it right up in here. And the reason why I'm tapping it now is because I want to build up the opacity of the shade, meaning I want it to cover a little bit more. So I'm gonna also blend out the edges of that. And Okay, so the next part of this look involves using concealer to cut my crease. So I'm going to take my Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer. This is in my skin tone. And the crease that I'm going to have is really just right here in the center. Okay? And it is going to touch bases with the other two corners of my eye, but not entirely. And so I'm going to bring the concealer down like this. And what I'm going to do is blend this concealer totally into the outer third of my eye, right here. When I put the black back on, it'll be really seamless, like a cut crease. And then right up in here, I'm just going to fade out the edges. And the reason for that is because I'm going to pack on a really pretty pink. It's like a almost mauve, and it's mostly supposed to take over my inner corner. So, because if you don't blend out the edges of your concealer or whatever you're using to cut the crease of your eyeshadow, what winds up happening is when you put your eyeshadow down, it doesn't blend, which is a problem. Okay, so I'm going to use this eyeshadow right here called Hollywood Sign, and this concealer. And what I'm doing first is packing it on. Yeah, I kind of want to use my eyeshadow to set the concealer so that it doesn't budge before I start doing this, which is sweeping the eyeshadow across my lid. And then on the outskirts, I'm blending it into the black. Blend the edges in the front as well, but I'm not really taking it totally into the inner corner because I'm going to be layering a matte mauve eyeshadow. But I do not want to have any lines of demarcation, so there's that. Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit more of the black. It's called Hollywood Forever, and I'm just going to tap it on the outer third of my eye again, building that depth back up. Really just making sure that it's maintained the depths and everything, because when stuff starts to disappear, you know, you can't see it. And you definitely don't have to make it as dark as mine is. Then I'm just going to take my original blending brush and go over it again, just to make sure I don't miss anything that, you know, the other brush didn't get. So for my inner corner, I use this shade right here. It's called Highland, and I'm just going to pick it up and pack it on. And then I'm just going to fade this out into the rest of my eye, really. For my winged eyeliner, I'm using my Kat Von D Trooper Black Liner. I love this eyeliner. And I'm pretty much just going with the way the eyeshadow looks right up in here. So I'm going to start on the outer corner of my eye with this. And you really just want to make it as long as you're comfortable with, honestly. Some of us like giant wings, some of us like little wings, some of us like chicken wings. But that's just, you know, it's our preferences. It's totally up to you what kind of wing you want to have. And you definitely don't have to replicate what I'm doing. You definitely don't have to replicate what I'm doing. You can do whatever suits you or whatever you feel complements your eye the best. You can even not put any eyeliner on and just go. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the sides real quick. With this concealer. Just like that. Moving on. I'm going to go ahead and put my face makeup on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so for my lower lash line, I am going to basically reflect my transition shades. So I'm going to take Chinese Theater and tap it down there. And then taking a little bit of the black shade, Hollywood Forever. Just going to sweep that on the outer corners. And then I'm going to take the light brown Roosevelt and just go underneath all of those. Kind of just mixing them, not really being precise in any way, shape, or form, honestly. The same Hollywood Sign shade, and I'm going to put it right here. I did wear lashes with this look, but today I honestly just don't. I don't feel like it. So I'm going to take my Bad Girl Bang mascara and I'm going to put this all over my natural lashes, which, you know, they're not necessarily tiny, to be honest with you. They're pretty healthy lashes, despite the way that I mistreat them with my fake lashes. And there we are. So the only thing I have left is to put my beauty mark back in its place, you know. Oh, and my lipstick, duh. So I'm just gonna take my Morphe lip liner that I just got, and this is in the shade Vibes. So pretty. You guys, this is literally the creamiest lip liner I've used since I had a MAC lip liner. Wow. That is so creamy. Like, I need all their lip liners. Well, not all of them. I like this one. So the lip color I wore was DESNUDO. This is by Makeup for Melanin Girls. Love their lipsticks. They're really, really, really pigmented. I don't even have to go back into the tube. And I'm just going to sweep the color across and blend it into my lip liner. I'm going to let that settle in, and then I'm going to put on my Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb. This is my go-to gloss for all of my lipsticks, especially the matte ones, because what I love about these lipsticks specifically is when they're paired with a gloss, they stay on all day long. And it looks really, really pretty. And you can do the same thing with whatever lipsticks you have, so. Okay, so this is the final look. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. For those of you who requested it, thank you so much. I'm glad I got to sit down and film it for you. And don't forget to watch the next videos and subscribe because it's totally free, and it'd be cool if you continued supporting me. And highlight is popping. Oh yes. Anywho, I will see y'all in the next video.